Some of you might be wondering why I'm talking about the subject of I need your love. And I guess when I was in my mid-30s, I had stuttered like I've stuttered for all my life. And anyway, I wasn't getting the therapy that I wanted, so I went to therapy in Toronto. I can't remember the therapist's name, but anyway, that was the first time that I had ever had any therapy around the feelings that I have around stuttering. I can remember we each had a partner, and I had a man, and I used to call him Wild Bill. And every week we would go out into the mall, and we would stop people in the mall, and we would have a questionnaire and ask them what they thought about stuttering, what they thought about people who stuttered. And so that started, for me, that started to look at the emotions that are actually behind the stuttering. And so I started to think, I don't really think it's all about stuttering. I think there's a lot more that is involved in that. So anyway, that really started in me, to look at the emotions that were there. And fear was a major emotion. It still is some days, not so much around the stuttering anymore, but just around stuff. And so, yeah. So anyway, that's why I started, to look at, okay, I need your love. Is that true? And I got this from Byron Katie's book. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but she has a book that is called exactly the same thing. I need your love. Is that true? So some of that is from her book. So first of all, I'm going to start with a little story. There was a little girl that was happy doing her own games in the playground, and all of a sudden she surprised herself by doing a flip. And what happened? All the kids around her started to laugh, but they also started to clap for her. So she repeated the flip to see if they would clap for her again. So she's no longer doing this to amuse herself, but she's flipping because of the response that she wants from other people. And with that comes the anxiety that she's not going to get it. Can anybody relate to that at all? Just a bit around stuttering. Yeah. So, and I think it's the opposite for us who stutter. When we first stutter, I can remember in school, like I think I started to stutter when I was about 3 years old, but the first time that I recognized it was when I was in kindergarten, and we were all sitting around on the floor, and there was a basket in the middle with all different balls of colored wool. And when they came to ask me what the color of the wool was, I couldn't say blue. And I just looked around, and there was kids staring at me. And I think that's the first time that I really noticed that I spoke in a different way. So when we first stuttered, kids might start laughing at us or making fun of us. And then our focus really shifts to the laughter that we're scared is going to happen, rather than focusing on what we want to say. We're more focused on how are they going to treat us? Are they going to accept us? Rather than focusing on what we have to say. So trying to impress people and to win the admiration of the right people is very often our focus and our best shot at being happy or satisfied. So I need you to love me and to appreciate me in order to feel good about who I am. And this not only applies to stuttering, does it? This applies to life at times. So we think if we're successful, that we're home safe, that we're warm, that we're appreciated. And if we fail, if we stutter, then we feel unappreciated, we feel lonely. So very often a compliment can really make our day, or else a harsh word or something said against it can ruin it. We think about it. A long time ago, I read a book by Napoleon Hill, and it was entitled Think and Grow Rich. Has anybody else read that? Yeah. And anyway, at the time, I was a single mom, and I thought it was all about making money. However, in there, he listed the 6 most prevalent fears. And there was poverty, there was criticism, ill health, lost love, old age, and death. And I found mine in there. Did anybody else notice theirs in there? And mine was the fear of criticism, major. So of all the fears that I listed, okay, if you can put up the first slide, please, hon.
Sure. Okay. Just give me a moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was poverty, there was criticism, there was ill health, there was lost love, old age, and death. So are any of those kind of hitting you on the back of the head and saying, hey, I think that's it? Yes, Adam. Okay, yours is dying. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah. Mine was like the not being appreciated, or to be criticized too. So that's like a bigger fear to me than dying, or than being old, or than being single.
Yeah. Well, mine was the greatest. It jumped right off the page at me. It was the criticism, the fear of criticism. And I thought that's what my fear has been through this whole experience. And I was probably, when I read the book, I was probably like, I don't know, 50 years old or maybe 55 years old. So I had stuttered since I've been 2 years old. So, and I was a covert stutterer. I didn't let it out except for my family and my close friends. So anyway, here was something that really started me to look at, okay, there's something else involved in here rather than the actual stutter that shows up at the end. And then I can remember reading in the 4 Agreements. Has anybody read the 4 Agreements? Oh, Eva, good. You're okay. And the second agreement that we are asked to make with ourselves is don't take anything personally. Can anybody relate to that at all? Just a bit. Yeah. Because if someone makes fun of us when we laugh or when we stutter, do we take it personally? Yes, I know I did for a long time. And then in the book, I also learned that what someone else says is not about you, but it's really about who they are. Okay? And that can relate to anything, anywhere in your life. And I say that, so if somebody compliments you, it's still only their perception of who you are because it's coming really from them. And I don't say that, so you can look at somebody and say, no, that's not who I am. That's who you are. This is for your own understanding. When someone gets mad at you and, maybe he says, oh, you're the worst person in the world or something. Thank you for sharing that. Sometimes I say, thank you for sharing. Oh dear. I don't know about you, but my God, if I don't laugh at myself through this whole thing, I think I would crack up. Man. Yeah, so that's just a really good awareness that, we can take through our life. Never mind around the stuttering, because what someone else says to us, it's not really about us, but it is about who they are. It is about the consciousness that they have about themselves. And as I say, it's not for you to sit there and go, nah, that's not about me. It's just for understanding on our part. Understanding. And another thing I found out is that we're constantly monitoring to see if we're gaining or losing ground in the grand approval sweepstakes. Have you ever thought after you go in somewhere, oh, I wonder if I made a good impression? Have you ever wondered if you met somebody and afterwards, oh, I wonder if they accepted me? I wonder if they liked me because I stutter.
All the time.
Yeah. 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 And sometimes our thoughts are unconscious and they have been there for so long, at least that's what I found. Oh, I've had the same thoughts for years and years. So sometimes until I really started to pay attention to what I was thinking about, did I notice what my thoughts were really saying to me. Yeah. So very often, how many stories do we have that we keep repeating over and over again? Would anybody like to share any stories they have? Some people, if they've been married before, like me, they have the same story that they tell over and over again. So some of this is just an awareness of what we don't even know is there, that we're unconscious to it. And when we become conscious of it, okay, as I say, this isn't for any shame or blame or anything else. This is just for an awareness and to say, thank you, God, I finally realized what I was doing there. Yeah. So all stories, seeking approval becomes so much a part of our lives that it becomes automatic. So next slide, please there, hon. So where in your life are you seeking approval other than stuttering? Come on, I want some answers.
Well, I can say that I want people to think I'm funny, or I am a caring and a likable person, or even a knowledgeable person. So I'm like really mindful of what I try to convey. If it has substance, or if it's concise, or if it's leaving a long-lasting impression on the listeners. So
Yeah.
just so there's a lot of more areas that I am seeking approval from the people I talk to.
Yeah, yeah. If anybody wants to speak, if you can just hold up your hand, then I think you can see that, Shimei.
Oh, sorry. Mary, you think I accidentally I clicked on you to be muted, but then now it's good. I think. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Beam, nice to
Yes.
see you again. Holy mackerel, it's been years.
Yeah, the same also, Mary. So the other aspects that I do seek approval, it is still tied to my speaking. So besides stuttering, is a need to to to, to sound intelligent. That what I've said, people see that as being smart or brilliant. So lots of it's tied to how I say things and what I say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. John.
Yeah, I think about someone else. I think mentioned in the chat. Vic mentioned work, and I think about the desire to appear competent and capable at work, and sometimes too the feeling of when you enter into maybe a new field and you have that what's called imposter syndrome, where you think you
Oh, I
don't.
never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a thing. And I think I've experienced it, and where it's just you don't, you feel that everyone else gets it, and you're just learning, and you're uncertain about things, and sometimes it's requires checking in and just thinking, is that actually true, or is that kind of the anxiety and the some of the things you're talking about, the desire to be seen as having the answers or knowing what you're doing, when often so many of us really don't. We're navigating through life.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. And all this information or whatever I share tonight is just so that we can learn from it, and you can take it, or you can say, that woman is crazy. So, I mean, it's strictly up to you as to what you're here to do with the information that I'm sharing tonight. Just another thing that kind of came into my mind is when I was working at the Conservation Authority, and I was speaking to the general manager's secretary. And at the time I had just started into looking at the stuttering in my life or whatever. And anyway, I referred it, she was asking me about something I was doing, and I referred to my stuttering. And she said, "Oh, you want to own it?" And I said, "No." And even though that's just a little wee thing, I've never called it my stuttering since then. It's always been the stuttering. So that's just thrown out there with whatever you want to do with it. But for me, that just really struck home. And no, it's just like or else my headache, and I get migraines now and then. And I noticed I was referring to them as my migraines. I thought, oh, cut that crap, So anyway, so anything else, my headache, my arthritis, you're probably not old enough to have that, but anyway, yeah. So that's just something else.
So I think a few suggestions. There's a few answers that people have said that they're seeking approval of is appearance, and from the ones I wish I could love. So yeah.
Yeah,
It's this healthy spread of areas in which we're trying to seek approval of, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's in our, and maybe it's in this lesson or another one. I'm thinking, you know, who do you really get dressed for? You know, do you get dressed for yourself, or do you get dressed for the opposite sex, and if they're gonna like you, or how somebody else is gonna, you know. Anyway. And in her book, and you know, sometimes I agree with, but she writes, the unspoken belief is that unless people approve of us, we think we don't count. And I don't think that happens all the time. How about you? No comments?
Like in terms of like feedback or appreciation, or
Yeah.
like whether that, yeah, like that
Okay.
happens.
Yeah. Who comes into your life, or is there anybody particular in your life that you get the feeling that I don't count? And you don't have to answer that. It's just might be something that you might start to be aware of, or that you just might kind of jot down and think, oh, you know, because sometimes I write stuff down and then the 2 or 3 later, or 2 or 3, you know, 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 months later is, oh yeah. What does Adam say? Whoops, I missed that, Adam. Yeah.
Yeah. So he says that for folks that are too busy to acknowledge me.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah, because we always learn from what somebody else, at least I do. You always learn, maybe not at the time, but sometimes, you know, somebody says something and it's like, oh, yeah, now I'm starting to figure that one out. But there's always a particular thought that triggers a stressful feeling. So if this feeling could talk, what would it say? And who would it say it to? It may have been there for so long that it's unconscious. And one of my thoughts that I wrote down, one of my thoughts I always had before I spoke was, I'm going to stutter. And that's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Anybody else have that thought? I don't have it very, yeah.
Yeah, John.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have a slight modification to that. It's more like, it's like, what if I stutter?
Yeah.
And it's because I'm, you know, it's not like, because I know I will at some point, but it's more like, what if, in terms of like, how am I going to react? How is the other person going to react? And that uncertainty that Dr. Chris Constantino, actually, that Jerome mentioned briefly during the keynote, talks about stuttering as a fear of losing control. And I think that, like, what if I stutter is probably me thinking and feeling like, what if I lose control? Like, you know?
And that's where the fear of criticism came in for me. It wasn't me criticizing myself. It was that they were going to criticize me when I stuttered. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Bim, you have some, you want to share?
Yes. So for me, it's yes, the fear of actually stuttering, but the biggest fear I have is where the words wouldn't come out. And
Oh, okay.
it also depends on this situation, where the stakes I deem as being high, the words wouldn't come out. That's the biggest fear that I tend to have.
Yeah. It's interesting to look at all the fears that are there. And mainly there's one main one I think I mentioned before. And that's not, you're not going to love and appreciate me. That was mine. And still is some days. I have a 49-year-old son who lives in England and is a marine engineer, so he like travels the world, And anyway, I was talking to him today, and sometimes when I, cross over the line, I just hear this mother, and I thought, yeah, Anyway, so here's the next question. Can we have the next question up there, hon? Who would you be and what would you do in someone else's presence without the story that they should care about you or love you? If you had that in your awareness, okay, where would the thoughts of, am I going to stutter, go? Have I got the right? I guess maybe women think this. Evan, I'm not sure, but sometimes I do. Am I wearing the right clothes today? Oh my God. Yeah.
That seems to be a tough question to think about, huh?
Yeah. Oh no, this
Yeah.
is you don't have to answer this now, but if you just want to take it and think, what would you do, and who would you be? Would you be more, convinced of who you are? The word just kind of, or what would you do? Yes, John.
Yeah, for me, I think that sounds liberating.
Yeah.
In terms of I'd like to think I'd be myself. Now,
Yeah.
who that person is, when weighted down by feelings of like, what do others think about me, and trying to be someone perhaps I'm not, right? Someone who doesn't stutter, for example. That's not me. I'm someone who stutters. So who's that guy? And so I think, like, yeah, this question for me, I reflect on like just how liberating that would be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that you don't, respect them or whatever else like that, because this isn't about the other person at all, but this is about us. Yeah.
Yeah. Beam, you have your hand raised. You'd like to share?
Yes. So to kind of add to John's point, what I do think about that, I definitely will be freer and more authentic. At the same time, even today, I ask myself, am I really being who I am now? I feel I don't know the real me, because the real me seems to have been hidden by the cloud of stuttering, and how I've had to change who I am to I guess have people accept me, people to be validated. So in some way, I don't really know who I am.
No.
Yeah, I just feel that there's somebody there that I've not really got to know. So if I didn't care about people loving me, I I will be intrigued by who will come out, who that person will be, because today I feel I don't know who the real me is.
And can I say that I think it's a lifelong journey. I'm still learning. And I will tell you that I'm 84 years old. And it's like, and I don't know whether this journey will ever end. We sing it, or we sing a song at Unity Church. You know, I'm a minister now. Never thought that had happened, let me tell you. But anyway, I'm a minister. And so one of the songs we sing at church is I love myself the way I am. And some days I can remember just walking around my apartment and singing that to myself. Love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. Anyway, Lenny.
So yeah, I was just just about to ask Lani to share.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I kind of have a real world experience or example of what I would do in the presence of someone without necessarily my subconscious self seeking their approval, and that happened at work. So I'm a brewer, and there's only two of us, so we work very closely, like 40 hours a week, with just each other in the brew room. And when I had started there a year and a half ago, I mean, I obviously wanted everyone to like me and get along with everyone. But at the end of the day, if they don't, it doesn't really matter, because we just have to tolerate each other at work. So that approval almost went out the window. And what I've found is I actually have the best friendship, and I know I can be authentically me with this individual. And he's someone who, when I said I have a stutter, he asked me questions, like he was so interested in it. And so to answer this question, I have experienced I can be truly myself when I feel I can. And honestly, that's pretty rare. How I am with him at work is not someone I would typically share or act like right off the bat with anyone else. So I know I'm very lucky to have him as a co-worker, and also just someone who's like so supportive of stuttering and just so interested in it. It's a great feeling. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Thank you, Lenny. Yeah. Wow. Stuttering is so much more out in the open now. And that's what, with Zoom, it's awesome. It's awesome. I was on the workshop of the World Stuttering Network, this afternoon. Was it this afternoon? Yeah, it was. And it's just awesome. Yeah, so any Saturday morning, if you want to get up at 7 o'clock Eastern time, you can join me and Tom Sharstein and people from all over the world who stutter. And I mean, everybody has their own, insights to share, and it's awesome. It's an hour long, and yeah. So it sure gets my butt out of bed on a Saturday morning.
And
Most Saturdays, and then some Saturdays I say, oh no.
well, well, that depends on if I have a party on Friday night or not. So
Right, that is right. So, what image? Okay, we think that we need to win people over to make them like us. That's from the book. So we're pushing toward an image that we want to print on their mind. So what image do you want them to have for you as a person who stutters? Does it have anything to do with your speech?
I actually feel that this need for them to think that I'm fluent is just one of the things, but then I also more than just being fluent. I sometimes would like them to think that I'm intelligent, smart, or friendly, and a good conversationalist who can keep a group of 4 to 5 people engaged with a nice story. Well, the things that you would see in Hollywood movies, where this charismatic guy has this group all together towards him. That's the kind of personality that I would like to have. Plus a little commentator vibes with the way I talk would not hurt. So if if it was not for, I mean, you shouldn't be saying this, but then one of the dreams, well, at the time it was irrational dream for me to be a sports commentator, which involves a lot of speaking. And then now I have agreed that there are some professions which is really tough for people who started, and a sports commentator is one such. But then I absolutely have my full attention towards the commentators, when they speak to each other, not necessarily about sports too.
Yeah. Did you read
John,
it?
you're too kind,
John's
John.
comment. I would love to listen to you. Come on. Okay. Hey, well, I never thought I'd get paid for speaking, and it's happening. So anyway, never give up. Never. Next slide, please, hon. I think we, yeah, okay. Next slide, please.
Oh, so so
Next one after that.
yeah, next this one, right? Okay. Yeah, now it's good.
So after we have a conversation with someone and we stutter, do we conduct mental postmortems to review how the conversation went and how we could have said it without stuttering? Do we try to figure out what we should have said or done? That's great. Yes, Obim.
Yeah. What I would say is that it depends. So
Yep.
if it's with say my brother, not no big deal, but at at a, at at work, maybe with my boss or someone I deem quite senior. So I would play back and wonder how they would have perceived me. So it does depend on the person or persons and the situation.
I found out personally that the last group of people that I wanted to stutter in front of was a group of ministers. I was at a conference down at Unity Village in the States, which is the headquarters. I'm with the Unity Church, more spiritual church. And anyway, and I was sitting in a room with about 20 or 25 other ministers. And I noticed you still don't want to stutter in front of them. Yeah. And it's like, okay. And once again, you say, thank you for the awareness, don't hit yourself over the head or go into any negative stuff around that at all. But it's just like, okay, this is there. What do I want to do anything about it? Do I want to think about it? Do I want to change it or whatever else like that? And it's an awareness. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say too, sometimes the awareness can be of a feeling.
Yeah.
Like I don't think, like, sometimes afterwards I'm not kind of conducting. Now I think I'm becoming more aware of how I'm thinking and feeling, but sometimes it's subconscious and it's more of a feeling of just like,
Yeah.
not feeling good about how that, and I go back to work, like others have said, like whether it's an interview or I spoke up during a meeting, and that feeling of just, I started becoming aware that I just wasn't feeling good afterwards, after that interview where maybe I stuttered a lot.
Yeah.
And in fact, I've shared a story before, but that, like, I wasn't focused on what I was saying, 100% on how I was saying it. And, there's one instance where I actually got the job. So obviously I said something competent and they were seeing more in me than I was, seeing in myself, because I think I was just focused so much on how I was saying things. And that was a wake-up call.
Yeah. Shimei, I wonder if you could take down this so we can see the other people that are here, because this is the end of the questions here. Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah, so I don't know how much time we've got left or whatever.
We have we have 10 minutes to go.
Okay, alrighty. So has anybody else got anything they want to share about what we've talked about? Anything that you might have noticed maybe tonight? Yes, Sabine.
I just comment or question. Like all of this, in theory, we know, like I know I shouldn't care, like I do know that, but something, I guess, deep down, it comes out.
Yeah,
Like, I know I shouldn't care. I should present and not care if I stutter. Like, I know that in theory, I tell myself that, but during the process, like I tense up, like I know
yeah.
this, but it's deep down. It comes out.
What about, here's something else that I just got, which actually I'm getting from Byron Katie's book, Loving What Is, because I'm back in an immersion group focused on the book for 9 months. So anyway, she's got a whole chapter on the shoulds in our life. I shouldn't care. Who says? Yes, of course, you're human. You're going to care. I care. I get angry. I get mad. And instead of sitting in here and say, mind you, if I'm lashing out at somebody, if I'm hitting somebody, that's a different story. But who says I shouldn't get mad? Yeah, no. That's just another thing that you can kind of think about. Yeah. Who says you shouldn't care? Yeah. Sometimes I change the word should to could.
So I just had something small that I've seen that should be important, to care about. But then now at the end of the session, I've changed my mind to it. It was this notion that that you got to say, oh hey, hi, how are you doing? So fast, like how the whole world says is it, or to greet, or to say have a nice day at that same pace that society says is it. So I've well I can't say those greetings as fast as people say it, and when I say it at my own pace, it comes off as a little weird. But then now I realize that's just all in my head. And I've seen people say, hey, how are you doing, slower than that as well. But I had this realistic standard that I should be saying it as fast as the waitress says it, or as a shopkeeper would say it, because they tend to say it really fast, right? Yeah. But
There's
yeah,
another
it
should.
changed. You got me.
No, oh, I got myself all the time. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to end, if we're just about finished. Here is Byron Katie's quote from Loving What Is. She said, I noticed that things happen with or without me, that people approve of me or they don't. But it has nothing to do with me. And this is really good news, since it leaves me responsible for my own happiness. It leaves me to do nothing but live my life as kindly and intelligently as I can. If you don't notice and aren't grateful, I understand. It's only me dealing with me. and that is enough for a lifetime. So anyway, thanks for your sharing tonight. That is so great. I love it. That's what it's all about. Is not, yeah. So thank you for that. And my email is D for Dorothy, D Mary Wood at yahoo.com. If you ever want to email me, I'm actually leaving the ministry at the end of the year. As I say, don't you think it's time? And anyway, I'm not sure where my life is going. I'm actually looking at writing a book, or I am writing a book with, because I do workshops on other things that don't really, I do workshops on forgiveness, on gratitude, on self-image, self-esteem, and all the other lovey-dovey stuff for the other stuff. So yeah, so anyway, I just really invite you really just to appreciate who you are and what you've accomplished, because all people who stutter, we've been laughed at, and I don't care how long you stuttered and laughed at. Sometimes we get these stupid remarks or something. So anyway, just really hug yourself. I used to do a workshop on hugs. That was awesome. All the different kinds of hugs there are. So yeah. And anyway, thank you for making my evening. I really appreciated it. I appreciate you. And love yourself, will you? Just the way you are.
I was wondering if you could share your email ID in the chat. Since you had set it, but then it would be good if we could copy paste it from the chat.
Where does the chat say?
Oh, yeah. I think Eva has just now shared it in the chat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Eva.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my message. Love yourself and appreciate yourself, and know that that you are strong. You're intelligent. And that's what they say. I mean, most people, and I say all people who stutter are really very intelligent. I don't know, somebody told me that a long time ago, and I just decided to run with that one. So anyway, yeah. So, and it has been a joy. Wow, what a way to end my evening. And now I might have a beverage.
You and me both, Mary.
Anyway.
Mary, we love and appreciate you. You are a true gem, and you always will be, always in our hearts. We love you.
Well, I just
thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Evan. I just love hanging out with you guys anytime. So anyway, maybe one of these days we'll see each other in person, and we can sit and we can have a beverage together.
There's a great idea.
Yeah.
How about your hugs workshop at our in-person conference where we can really hug?
Okay. When's that? Next year.
All right.
Next year. Anyway, okay. You take care, and thank you very much.